You may have noticed a new command line environment in Windows since Windows 7, and that's called PowerShell. PowerShell is a much more powerful command line shell and scripting language than the command prompt is, giving Windows systems administrators a useful command line environment. It's more complicated than the traditional command prompt, but it's also more powerful. The command prompt was always dramatically inferior to shells available for Linux and other Unix-like systems, but PowerShell really raises the bar and it competes favorably with shells that are available with other platforms. So on this opening slide here, we can see the difference between the two command environments that are now available in Windows 8. We see the command line on the left, or command prompt, and most of you have worked in the command prompt. PowerShell on the right hand side looks sort of the same at first glance. The prompt is a little different. You'll notice you've got commands called set location. So we'll take a little more detailed look at this. So as we mentioned, the command line was pretty inferior to that available in a Unix or Linux environment. So PowerShell was invented to allow you to manage really all aspects of a PC or server. So it can manage registry settings as well as something called WMI, and that stands for Windows Management Instrumentation. And instrumentation is a way to manage modules which allow you to control elements of a Windows PC or Windows server. It's based of commandlets, so they're not really called commands, they're called commandlets. So I'm going to draw a circle here of a commandlet, and the output of a commandlet is actually some data which is an object, and these outputs and inputs can be piped to another commandlet. Now this is similar to Unix. Unix always had a system of having a command and then using this symbol to pipe to another command. It's called piping. So the output of one command could be the input of another command. But this was limited to using text. Here we have much more complicated data which we can output and input to other commands. It's also really a very powerful scripting environment, so if you need to control a complicated process with a number of commands, this is a full scripting environment. So who would ise it? Would basic users use it? Generally, if it's just a basic user and you're using basic things like ipconfig, maybe you're using a ping command, the command line's fine, and you're not going to generally really take advantage of PowerShell. But it's designed for people who administrate Windows PCs and Windows Server, and it's really its own complete command environment. So we're going to look at some initial PowerShell commands and look at the PowerShell environment and allow you to get a taste of what this is. So here we have a typical command box. To get at PowerShell, there's a number of different ways you can bring up the PowerShell environment. You can search for it. If you just type power, you'll see Windows PowerShell will be one of the options here. So we're going to bring up PowerShell and show the environment. It very much looks like a DOS environment. And you can customize this, but one of the first things we're going to do is to bring a shortcut onto my desktop. So the Windows PowerShell, I can drag over, hold on my keyboard the Option command down till I see the little arrow, and I'm going to let go. So this is my PowerShell shortcut. Now I can change some of the environment parameters by clicking on the upper left hand side and going to Properties. And things I can do, I might want to change the font to 14, maybe the layout, I don't want to be window size, a height of 50, maybe 20. Is fine. Let's see how large that is. Oh, that's pretty small. So we're going to change this to about 80 by 40. Mostly for the use of this demonstration here. So you'll see the prompt and so on. Now we're going to look at some of the basic commands, things that we might do in a command box, and let's look at how we would do it in PowerShell. So one of the first things is a CD, to change directory. So I might want to change to the users directory, and I would just type cd/users. Here we use a commandlet like set location. Now, a lot of people are familiar with the DOS environment, so there's also things called aliases, and I can actually use the cd command because cd is actually an alias to the set location. So how would I find out what cd, what the actual command was? Let's perhaps, if I do a dir, oh, that's supported too, but dir is not a native commandlet. How would I know what is really the PowerShell command? Well, I can use a command called get alias dir. And we can see that the command here is called get child item. I'm just going to do a CLS that clears the screen. So get child item. Okay. No. Get dash child item. And so you can see the types of errors that are shown here when you mistype. Now, one of the other things that you'll notice, or that this environment has, and it's similar to a Linux and Unix, is it has tab completion. If I do get dash ch, and if I now hit the tab key, it has get child item. So if I know most of the command, I can hit the tab key to see if it can complete the command as we go. Okay, one last thing we're going to do is look at how would we change this command prompt, and to pass in assignments, you'll notice that the little prompt here has PS for PowerShell and then your path, but I want you to put your actual initials to the left so I'll know that who it is doing the PowerShell command. So we would do this using a command called function prompt, and then we have to put something between these curly braces. And so we're going to put a quote. Something will go between quotes here, and whatever's between the quotes will get shown as the prompt. So I'm going to put DC for my initials, a space, and then I'm going to get the location, which is like getting the path, and then I'm going to put a greater than sign here. Just back up and get rid of some spaces. And now for this session, it won't save it for all sessions. I have a prompt that shows DC along with the path. So if I set location to C:users, that's what the prompt looks like. So this was a quick little introduction to the PowerShell prompt. We're going to do more exercises with it, and as you follow along with the exercise, you should play around with some of these commands to get used to them.